Good morning, everybody. Sorry we're a few moments late. Welcome to the IFS UK and Ireland User Group Summer Conference. We ran our first two events last week and we had over 60 people in attendance, which is great. And this is our fourth event this week. This is a replacement for the annual conference, which we unfortunately had to cancel. We're very sad not to be seeing everybody this year, and we hope that our summer conference will help make up for the absence of an actual conference this year. I hope you find you all safe and well in these strange times. Virtual events are a new thing to the user group, so please forgive us if we have any teething problems. We've run a practice session which went well, so fingers crossed. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Miller and I'm the manager of the user group. The user group is run by a committee of volunteers who all work for IFS customers. We also have a couple of committee members who work for IFS themselves and who assist us with liaison between our members and the company. The user group is independent of IFS, which allows us the freedom to react to any requests from our members. As members, we need you to stay in touch with us and to let us know if ever you have any concerns or requests that you'd like us to follow up on your behalf. The presentation today has been supplied by our member company, Churchill China, and is supported by our partners, Cedar Bay. And the title is Integrating a Third-Party Logistics Operator with Us, working with Cedar Bay CharIOT. In November 2018, Churchill China decided to open a European warehouse in preparation for Brexit at the end of March 2019. Taking the third-party logistics route, the challenge was to have a seamless sales order entry, move stock on a daily basis, tell the third-party logistics what to pick, and finally invoice orders. Sounds simple, but what if you had to do it with no extra staff in the process and making everything automated all in 3 months? Churchill and Cedar Bay rose to the challenge and implemented new transactions into their Cedar Bay application suite, installed the CharIOT product, utilised IFS custom fields and logic units, and along with many sleepless nights, the project went live on the 29th of March 2019. Now fully operational for a year, they hold 1,000 plus SKUs, 32,000 cartons of stock, 32 pallets of deliveries a day of replenishment and cross-dock stock, picking on average 4,500 cartons a week. Today you can learn how. Using out-of-the-box IFS functionality, you can have seamless integration with a 3PL or any other systems using Cedar Bay CharIOT. If you'd like to ask any questions during the presentation, please do so using the question and answer facility. If you're registered anonymously, please add your name. Anonymous questions will not be asked. I will put all the questions to our presenter at the end of the presentation. If we don't manage to get through all the questions, we will ask for them to be answered after the event. The event today will be recorded and the recording will be available to all our members on our website a few days after the event. Today, we're very pleased to have on the webinar Roger Teagle and Guy Barnes from Cedar Bay, who will assist with answering any questions at the end. Roger is the founder of Cedar Bay and has been involved in working with or for manufacturing companies for the last 25 years. Roger helped develop Cedar Bay application, which was designed to streamline collection of data into IFS. Guy has been with Cedar Bay for nearly 10 years and created the original versions of CB apps. Since then, he has been in charge of all the developments, leading the team and working with customers closely to deliver their projects. Guy and his team worked with Alistair on this project to deliver the solution that Churchill needed in a very short time frame. So I'm now left with the task of introducing our presenter for the day, Alistair Henderson, Head of IT at Churchill China. Over to you, Al.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think Amanda has pretty much stole my thunder there with that brief introduction on how but I'll keep you entertained for the next 20 or 30 minutes. And some of it is light-hearted. As Amanda said, I'm Alistair Henderson, Head of IT at Churchill China, heading up both the technical and the business solutions in the IT department. So who are we? For those who haven't come across me at the user groups, we are the UK's largest pottery manufacturer. supplying something like 80 to 90 countries throughout the world, 65 million turnover, and now currently having 3 warehouses, the main one in the UK, one in Chicago, and the one we're going to talk about today sitting in Holland. As Amanda said, Roger and Guy are here to help me along and maybe get Guy to smile when he sees some of the slides. Okay, so as Amanda said, what's today all about? It's using CharIOT to integrate a 3PL into your organisation. But again, as the synopsis said, it can be used to integrate anything to anything, really. Cedar Bay's core capabilities were all around warehousing, manufacture, data capture, and we've used them for since about 2012, 2013. And so when this project came along, it was an obvious choice to have them work alongside us to get this all done. So slight change to the numbers. These are as of this morning. So just to give you a scale for our operation, we've got approximately 1.5 million cartons in the UK, which equates to just over 7 million individual pieces of crockery. So that's plates, mugs, bowls, and everything along the lines. And as you can see, the EDC is considerably smaller, which gave us a little bit of a headache, which we'll come on to throughout this presentation, and some of the bits and pieces that we had to get around. As you can see, approximately 4,500 SKUs. They are active SKUs, so live in our price list, and about 1,500 of those 4,500 are in the EDC stocked. One thing to just let you know as well is Churchill is kind of the Amazon of the pottery sector. If you order it on a Monday, we will endeavour to deliver it on a Tuesday, as long as it's below 30 cartons, mainly for a carrier network, that is, to be honest. And that's in the UK. As you'll discover later on in this presentation, we are actually doing that or managing that in some parts of Europe now. So what did the business require? We required seamless order entry, no manual intervention, and accurate inventory records. That was the brief I was given, and you know, so those 3 lines have seemed fairly simple, innocuous, but proved somewhat difficult to implement. So what did we get? Well, we got full stock checking at order entry, and you'll understand why that was quite important later on. Creation of a distribution order when we needed it, automatic reservation of stock, and anybody who's used IFS will think, well, that's easy to do in IFS. You know, it's built-in functionality. Notification to the EDC on what to pick. So, well, you know, pretty obvious. Full approval cycle for changes to orders. That was particularly important. Customers are customers, and they're always right. So we needed a complex mechanism to enable us to be able to amend customer sales orders. And again, when you see the intricacies of what we have to do, that will become very apparent. We got some other things as well. Cross-dock pallet process. I'll explain to you a little bit more what a cross-dock is in a few minutes. Auto in-transit arrival, auto picking of stock, auto delivery of customer orders, and auto invoicing of customer orders. And probably the last one was more for the accountants, stock corrections, plus and minus. Now, all of these things were done seamlessly and without any manual intervention. So just thought I'd bring that in. Some key concepts for us to just just look at. We utilise distribution orders to handle transferring of stock to the EDC. That was for both stock replenishment and the fulfilment of customer orders. Everything you see today is IFS standard, either with custom fields or logic units, and obviously with Cedar Bay apps and the CharIOT product as well. And just for a bit of background, this is one company in IFS and multiple sites. So the EDC, which was what we nicknamed the warehouse in Europe, is site DOEU, funnily enough, and the site in the UK is DO. So for those who are not logistically minded, and I certainly wasn't when I started this little endeavour, what is a cross-dock pallet? And the best way I think I can do it is a pallet that is transferred into another warehouse where the only operation is to add an additional transport label and continue its shipment process. And that kind of sums it up. And when you get to the end, you'll see what one of those looks like. But the idea is we take a pallet as a whole out of the UK, we give it to the EDC, and all they do is onwardly ship it. That will become quite apparent as well. So a timeline, and as Amanda said, we did this very quickly, and these are the week numbers of 2019. Yes, we agreed that we were going to do this in 2018. It took us from November to December to find a third-party logistics vendor. That was quite amusing. I was part of the team that went out there. Several beers later, we picked the one that bought us the most beers. Joking apart, we picked the one that was central to our marketplace, had good logistics hubs, and was a recognised logistics provider throughout the world, and that was Hellman Logistics. So week one, trip down to Cedar Bay, and that was agree the phases, and also put out all of the process flow charts. Now, this project was not done as a project should be done. I don't think Guy Barnes will ever do a project like this again, especially with me. But there was no specification, and that was probably the worst thing ever. But because we had to do it at such a pace, we relied on process flow charts and the fact that Cedar Bay knew our business and had known our business for the last 6 or 7 years. So we had a good working relationship, and they kind of knew what we needed as well. And we broke this into a couple of phases. The first phase was, as you can imagine, trying to, at the time, we were only going to stock a whole 700 individual SKUs in the warehouse, but we had to get 700 SKUs over to Rotterdam before March the 29th, which doesn't sound well, it sounds an easy task. That equates to one 40-foot trailer every single day. Bearing in mind you can put 32 pallets of stock on a trailer, so you can understand how much stock we were having to shift at the early part of 2019. So the first phase was how we can get the stock in there and utilising the first parts of the Cedar Bay application and CharIOT, and that was transferring stock over, so creating an advanced shipping note, an ASN, so we can advise the EDC on what's coming, and then receiving messages back and obviously receiving them into stock. Again, just for information, the EDC is one great big bulk location in IFS. It is not held at location level. So by week 4, we started shipping. So that's how fast we managed to turn that little piece of work around. I say a little, it was not insignificant, I'll tell you that. And then we moved on to phase 2, and that was building the order interfaces for normal orders and cross-dock orders. Now, I've written along these lines, Churchill created the IALs, and we've done that in a few of the areas. We felt it was easier for us to control some of the logic, because if we needed changes that the third-party logistics provider needed, we could probably change them a lot faster than trying to get some of the Cedar Bay guys involved. They're very responsive, but you know, they've got other customers as well, not just us. So as you can see, week 6 and 7 was all about building the CharIOT interface. So that's sending data over and bringing it back. Order receiving, and confirm picking, and then most importantly, the delivery of an order and invoicing. And then we spent a whole 2 weeks bench testing this in various scenarios, fixing bugs, and also you know, fixing any issues that we had with the stock. And then week 14, which is the week that we were due to go live on the Friday, it all went horribly wrong. We'll talk you through some of that. So let's look at the process. And apologies for the slide. I stole this very quickly from one of our specifications. So we put a sales order on. Is it an all EDC pick? Is it an EDC UK pick or an all UK pick? Do we want to consolidate the orders? Do we not want to consolidate? So it's a very high level process flow. So it gets a bit more complicated. I'm not going to talk you through all of that, but these are the bits and pieces that we have to go through, from planned all the way through to reserved and us telling the EDC. So there's a little bit of work for each of those parts, and this formed this, you know, one of the specifications of us having to do some of the work. So order entry. So as you would expect, one of our sales administrators puts on an order, and as I said before, we didn't want the sales administrator to have to work out what was in the EDC, what was in the UK, you know, and slow the whole order processing down. We put on, at peak, we process around about 200 to 250 orders a day for our European warehouse. So we really needed a very slick order entry process. So we, with the help of Cedar Bay, we wrote a custom menu option that does a stock check, and the result is that. And the very important column, which is a custom field, is what's called a line indicator, or what we call the line indicator. And this indicates where the stock will be fulfilled from. And based on various rules, such as stock availability, are we consuming all of the stock in the EDC, and things like that, it works out where we're going to pick the stock from. This line indicator is then used throughout the entire process. This also comes off with, it highlights to the sales administrator there is no stock, and there's no free stock and things like that. So there's more complex rules around this area. So once the guys put the order on and done a stock check and done everything like that, it's time for the order release. So again, standard IFS release, and then you'll see this word magic happen, and this is where Cedar Bay are getting involved, either with CharIOT or some clever work in the background. It creates a virtual EDC pick list, but more importantly, for any stock that is deemed to have to come from the UK, it creates a distribution order automatically. And I say that quite flippantly. It does a lot in the background as well. It changes the wanted date on the both orders to bring them in line. So the distribution order is 48 hours behind the EDC sales order. It changes the addresses to ensure that the pallets arrive at the right place, and obviously creates the lines on the order. So it's a fairly intensive process and takes several minutes due to the distribution order process in IFS not being particularly quick. So how do we tell the 3PL what to do? So at midday every day, we populate a custom logic unit with all orders that are reserved that are wanted in 2 days' time. Again, this is where CharIOT magic comes along. It creates the files based on IALs and sends them to Hellman Logistics. And that is actually a picture of our warehouse in Rotterdam, which was a brand new build that they moved into right at the start of our contract. So what happens in the warehouse in the UK? So our warehouse picks the distribution order. Our warehouse creates pallets based on single custom delivery. So it takes a customer custom set of orders and they palletize it and build pallets. Shrink wrap it, stick the appropriate labels on it. Okay, and as in most warehouses, the warehouse loads the vehicles. Now, this is an area where we had a special Cedar Bay apps module written that allows us to load vehicles. Shipments didn't really cut it for us in IFS Apps 8. So Cedar Bay overlaid a shipments module for us. So we load the vehicle. We then close the shipment. So once our 32 pallets have been loaded, bearing in mind, sometimes we actually send 2 trailers, so 64 pallets of stock every single day. CharIOT magic happens again, and an ASN interface file gets sent to Hellman Logistics. This is fairly important. This pre-advises them what pallets are on the way to them. So the EDC transactions. So what transactions do we use? Right, so Hellman have been sent all the orders to pick, so they pick their parts of the order if it's a part pallet. And they send that data back to us. CharIOT gets in the way again, and the order is confirmed picked in IFS. Hellman received the cross-dock pallets. So what they're doing now is receiving all of those pallets into their warehouse. Obviously, that stock then has to be booked in to IFS. So CharIOT then receives all of that stock based on what's in the pallet. Pick lists are created, and then an interface is then sent back to Hellman to say you can pick that pallet now. Hellman picks the pallets and sends that back, and that's confirmed in IFS. And then lastly, Hellman load the vehicles. At this point in time, that load message triggers IFS to do and deliver an invoice routine. And again, all of this is controlled by CharIOT. And as you could explain, it's not really that complicated if I say it that quick. But there's a whole load of processing involved in this. And if I'd told you about the messages that go forwards and backwards to confirm, this diagram would be a lot more complicated than it is already. But I did say it all went wrong on week 14. So what really, what did go wrong? Well, I don't know if you can cast your mind back that far, but that was the week we had high winds, which caused my late flight, which caused me to lose my wallet somewhere, God knows where at the time. The discovery that the third-party logistics software was pretty inflexible. The high winds delayed the ferry that was carrying the stock that should have been in the warehouse. That caused some angry Germans to be shouting in the warehouse. Some very angry Dutchmen, as you can expect, as we were getting closer and closer to the deadline on when we should be putting this live. So what were the good things? Well, Guy Barnes at the other end of the phone. That was one of the best things ever that week. A helpful Polishman by the name of Christoph, who's the equivalent of me for Hellman. And between all three of us, we sorted out every single problem that arose in that week. I did find my wallet in the end. And there was plenty of beer drunk as it was getting pretty precarious. Something did go right though. On the 29th of March 2019, 2 pallets were loaded and shipped. It doesn't look that great, but it was pretty momentous for Churchill. In 3 months, we'd designed, developed, implemented a complete brand new system that was pretty much bespoke to us and with full integration with our third-party provider. On the 1st of April, the EDC went live with 4 European countries. We thought we'd do it slowly, so we picked our 4 biggest countries. And on the 6th of May, a month later, the EDC went live with the entire 27 countries of Europe. Sorry, 26. We don't ship to Ireland from the EDC. So, you know, we did do something right. As you can see, that order was made up of some cross-dock pallets and some pallets just picked directly out of the EDC. And all in all, it was an interesting 3 months. So just some pictures to finish. That's a different view of our warehouse. Those are the barges that go past, and if anybody's ever been to Holland or not been, they are some substantial barges. Those are 40-foot containers on that barge. I've never seen barges so big. And lastly, that was my beer in the airport after a very long week. That's it for me. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Alistair. Thank you. We had a few issues getting poor Alistair onto this call, so he's done very well to recover himself and get on with that so quickly. So if anyone has any questions, now is the chance to ask them. You're about a minute behind us, so we'll give you a moment or two to ask some questions. I'll pop Alistair's face back on the screen so that he can answer them. Okay, Alistair, first question. Is CharIOT a piece of software or module that is deployed via CB apps on handheld scanners?
It is a piece of software that's deployed on its own server. And I believe it's a Windows 2012 or 2016 server it needs to be deployed on. It is a standalone piece of software.
Okay, thank you. No more questions at the moment. Let's give people a few minutes just in case.
Cool. It's used sort of to, if you want to, can I talk, Commander? Of
course. You're there, you're live.
Yeah, the CharIOT software is and I'm not the technical one out of these crews, so they'll probably correct me. But the idea of CharIOT is a sort of a piece of software that allows us to integrate with external systems, pull data in from, can be anything, machines, in this case another warehousing system, into and out of IFS. So that's its mission in life, to make it easy to do that.
Okay, lovely. So I've not got any more questions at the moment. What I will do is I'll do a little summary and finish. And then we'll have a check for questions before we finish completely. So I hope you all enjoyed that and found it to be useful and informative. A big thank you to Alistair for his presentation and for his consistent support of the user group. And thank you very much to Roger, Guy and Cedar Bay for supporting the IFS User Group Summer Conference. We've got 10 more events planned. We have added 2 more this week, so have another look at our events pages. And we're still in conversation with some other partners to add more events over the next few weeks and months. We hope to see you all again at an event very soon. Thank you all very much for attending today and for your continued support of the user group. Please send us feedback about this event so that we can continue to improve if necessary. Stay safe and well, and hopefully we'll see you all in person in the not too distant future. Let's just have a quick check. No more questions at the moment. If you do have any questions, then please send them to me directly by email, and I'll just say cheers to you with my Churchill mug. And thank you all very much indeed.
Cheers.
Cheers, thanks.
Thank you. Cheers.